Hello and welcome back to Pyre. Today we are gonna start the next cycle of trials. Let's see who we can send back out of the downside next. But first, you want to speak to me. I see, let's do that, Lone Minstrel. After the liberation of Ray, you find the Lone Minstrel back in the wagon, looking as though no such thing had just occurred this night. You think you see him tilt his head as you approach. Some words of congratulations are in order for this evening, I should think, reader. And so, congratulations on prevailing in the liberation rite. Surely Ray shall be most grateful, and her safe return to your commonwealth ought benefit the plan in which you all now play a part. As for your adversaries of the Withdrawn, this must have been a bitter loss for them and Admilvi, although they must have known their chance was far from certain. Thus shall we all await the next turn of the cycle of the rites. Celeste and I are to return to our respective duties for the time, as now Scribe's Gate is sealed. I await when next we all shall meet, when next you may yet live up to the glory of the Nightwings in the eyes of the 8 scribes, which yet shine down for us. He trails off the nods to you in his cordial manner and bids you a good rest of the evening. Alright, let's take a look at the Book of Rites. What does it say here? The Withdrawn, okay. The Withdrawn did spawn forth from the Wild Witch, Milith, in whose vigilant pursuit of the unknown and the unknowable I always felt a certain kinship. Whether the Withdrawn were Milith's kin by blood or merely worshippers, we trusted one another not to ask or care. What mattered was that Milith chose the most audacious minds who stopped at nothing short of the impossible. Though ever distant, the Withdrawn revealed to us such truths about the land which long lay hidden, even to one such as I. Their knowledge ever waking into newfound depths of consciousness. They lead us all to better know ourselves. Okay. And on the 8th, there's another one. On mercy, in the words of Trieste. Mercy is the beating heart of a truly free society. Mercy even for the perpetrators of the darkest deeds. As our liege Soliam Mer drifted in an ocean of regret, he found there mercy, or rather, it found him, and it saved his life. Mercy, freedom, they are intertwined. A society which raises a clenched fist against its own shall follow the doomed path of the Empire of Sar. Ours shall be a merciful society. May the perpetrators of the darkest deeds be sent to join us here, where they may learn as we have. Mercy shall engender union among all our different kind. We shall stand shoulder to shoulder, equals in the same society. Okay. Now, with the book sorted out, let's see what else we have here. What do we have here? New part of Tiso's biography, okay. Oh right, the long text. Should I read those at some point? There are a lot of imps in the downside, but few, if any, are like this one. In fact, he seems to be descended from the most famous imp of them all. Tiso is older than he appears, and drove the black wagon of the Nightwings for many years, learning much about the rites while traveling with the Triumvirate. But when misfortune fell, he disappeared. He re-emerged years later, having become an integral part of Volfred's plan, and to serve as a liaison between Volfred and a certain band of exiles whom he entrusted. Okay, I'll read those on occasion, like sometimes between trials I'll read one. Alright, now let's head back outside and continue our journey. I suppose in this case that's just waiting around a bit. Oh right, we go to the Moonlight Alcove, of course. That's what we do. And now we wait for the stars to glow once more. You once again find yourself amid the hidden splendors of Moonlight Alcove. Here you can await the time until the stars deign to shine for you again. Well, let's bide our time then.
We have returned to a place of respite. Please, make yourself comfortable, such as you can. We are at the mercy of the stars, but I expect they shall shine bright again in time. As for me, I shall return by then, for there is something I must do.
There from atop the sacred mountain you gaze down into the abyss that is the downside. You wonder when the stars shall align themselves once more. Alright. There upon the sacred mountain you and your companions once more await the night the stars begin to shine again. The plan of which you are all a part is set in motion. The Commonwealth, a nation that stood almost for 1,000 years, is in turmoil. If your companions return there through the liberation rites, what sort of place shall they be coming back to? Many moons pass. One evening, amid a downpour with no interest whatsoever in relenting, Wolfred requests everybody to convene. You understand he has an announcement of some sort. Soon everyone is assembled and Wolfred regards the group.
Everyone, there is an aspect of our plan which I've not talked about with you at length. Look around at your companions. What do you see in them?
He lets the question hang a moment in the air.
I'll tell you what I see in all of you. In all of us. I see in all of us a living vision of the 8 scribes themselves, each one among them hailing from the different tribes which later formed our Commonwealth. My observation does not come from pompousness, I think. Rather, I believe the scribes themselves desired, or shall I say desire, such a course. Together they created all this ceremony of which we're now a part. The exiles liberated through the rites went on to found the Commonwealth based on their values and their teachings. Thus, an instrumental aspect of our plan is to embody the spirit and the culture sorry about that and the culture from which the Commonwealth arose so many centuries ago. That way, when we are all united on the other side in solidarity, the people all shall see that we reflect the value they yet cherish in their hearts, not merely our own. Anyway, we are still missing one key representative on behalf of Molten Millith, and I happen to know a certain bog dweller who I think shall fit the part most splendidly indeed. He motions for someone to approach. A certain bog dweller slithers forward. You recognize her straight away. It is my pleasure to introduce to you a dear old friend of mine whom I believe you've met. Welcome to the Nightwings, Bertrude.
The bog dweller called Big Bertrude utters something guttural by way of greeting. We are to understand that ye require further aid from us.
Yes, dear Bertrude. The time has come. Bertrude here is far and away the most accomplished alchemist whom I have ever met. You soon will find that she knows much about the rites as well.
Bertrude looks at you and your fellow exiles, each in turn. We frighten ye, apparent. Everyone is silent as Bertrude searches their expressions. Then tremble, small ones, and hold well thy tongues. Thy tongues, I mean. Lest we remove them. She takes her leave without another word.
Please excuse Bertrude's blunt manner. I guarantee she shall more than make up for it. Everyone disperses. It seems now that the ranks of the Nightwings are complete. Well, let's welcome her aboard then. Now then, my boy. Perhaps you notice that the stars are bright once more up there behind those stubborn rains, meaning it is time that we go back to business. Indeed, once more several stars shine bright within the cold and storming sky. Let's see what our path holds for us. Alright, what stars are glowing? Haub is glowing, Mildy is glowing, Lu is glowing. Okay, so who would that be? That would be Tamitha. Yeah, so we could go fight Tamitha. We could go fight the Tempers. Or we could go fight Landell again with the Accusers. Okay. I know we could decide based on the rankings, but honestly I think I'm just gonna go for the Essence this time around. I think we haven't battled them in a while. So let's go for that. So we're to have another brush with Tamitha. Perhaps she'll spare me yet another moment of her time. She's here because of me and I'm here for her. Tamitha tells you more of your next adversary, her own blood sister. Tamitha Vane, a harp of the Nightwing remnants, raised from birth to excel in outwitting and outmaneuvering her enemies, she seems driven by her hatred for the Commonwealth. After retreating to the mountains centuries ago, the harps refused to join the Commonwealth, and those old tensions boiled over into raids or skirmishes, or all-out war. Flight tacticians such as Tamitha gave the High Wing remnants a swift and powerful military presence to this day, despite the harp's small numbers. She once hatched ambitious plans to overthrow the Commonwealth, breaching its defenses so her sisters could rain down untold destruction. On the darkest night of the year, she led a daring infiltration mission deep into her enemy's lands. It almost worked. However, she was betrayed by someone very close to her, someone branded a Commonwealth sympathizer, Tamitha. Tamitha was caught, clipped and subsequently exiled as a prisoner of war, but being trapped within the downside only stoked her fury. I wound up in here not too long afterwards. Anyway, it's complicated what happened between us. What I did for her own good, and that of all her sisters. Though I'm beginning to doubt that Tamitha will ever see it that way. We'll see, I suppose, but for now, I'd best try and catch what sleep I'm able. Pleasant dreams then, darling. You bid a good night to Tamitha in turn. No time now to make flight preparations, though come morning the Black Wagon will press onward. Well, let's go into the Black Wagon then and have a talk with Admilthy. No, Bertrude. Admilthy was the enemy one, yeah. You find Big Bertrude looking about the Black Wagon in a disapproving way. She fixes her gaze on you. Her expression does not change. Such a clutter added to this wagon since we looked upon it last. Unsightly. We remember thee from our abode in flagging hands. Then thou must be the reading one to whom Sandalwood referred. She moves in closer, studying you. You recall that the mere touch of a bog crone of the southern bogs can induce paralysis or worse. That one such as thee can extract meaning from that tome. 'Twas a feat we wished to witness for ourselves. Thy flesh has seen but the smallest fraction of the years which ours withstood, and yet we are expected to believe that thou canst understand the Book of Rites. She then backs away, for someone else joined you. Hail, Bertrude, madam. Is everything to your liking at this time, or is there something more which you require? We have been unable to locate a supply of rotworm gizzard extract among thy belongings.
Other than that, we shall lodge no complaint at present. If it is possible that Wolfred has a small supply among his possessions here. It is possible that Wolfred has a small supply among his possessions here. If you would care to accompany me, we may yet procure some. That would be agreeable with us. Then after you, madam. Alright. As they depart, you think you see the lone minstrel nod his head to you. Alright. What's those cards here? Bertrude's decks. Unusual etched cards depicting the greater titans, probably for curses and enchantments. And Bertrude is nearby according to it. We have a new page in this one. The Rites of Flame. In the words of Soliam Mur, the last of his name. With these blackened nails do I hereby inscribe the rites of flame. The bylaws shall be written here in full. We the eighth decree the rites a test of one's true worth in body, mind, and spirit. Now until the stars abandon us, this shall be binding law within the downside. Those deemed worthy in the rites are to regain their freedom from the downside and return from whence they came. Exiles shall conduct the rites as one of 9 triumvirates and look toward the stars for guidance on their path. What's wrong with my reading today? I'm sorry about that. Exiles shall bear the book as status. Alright. I think that's all there is to read at the moment. So now let's continue. You rise early that morning, though Bertrude is already awake. She scowls at you.
Good morning, reader. Bertrude, I trust your stay has been not too uncomfortable?
Nay, Sandalwood. The comforts of this place are not for us. Fly us forth from here to lower grounds. Let us get on with all of this.
The reader here shall do so once the group is ready. I thank you for your patience.
Alright. And we shall take off and head towards our next trial. Along this beautiful scenery, of course. Mers Pass. Soaring far above Sclorian shore, you notice Pamitha gazing down at the frozen cliffs below. That damned place down there. I like it least of all, I think, among everywhere we've been. I'm thankful that there's been no reason to return. Reminds me of my home is all. The Highwing remnants. We all grew accustomed to the thinner air amid the cliffs that breaches the clouds above the Commonwealth. But it was not the nicest place. Little wonder that my sisters settled for a rather warmer base of operations in this land there by the nest of Trieste. Anyway, I'm pleased to have spent as little time as possible near here. Let's fly on by and go about our business. Well, let's do so then. And see where it takes us. Okay, there's the Glade of Lugh, Needlefield or Cinderroot. I think last time we were in Cinderroot. A hushed clearing south of the Glade of Lugh. Rookie knows someone here who owes him for a past debt. And Needlefield, a small clearing east of the Glade of Lugh. Okay, Pamitha, I don't know what you're planning here, but let's land here. We have to repair the wagon first, but I'll talk to those people first. It's you. Okay, I see. Wolfred. Wolfred is poring over a copy of the Book of Rites as you approach. He looks up at you and smiles.
The road to freedom, written in a book that hardly anyone believes exists, and fewer still can read and comprehend. Sometimes I marvel how absurd all of this is, my boy. Tell me something, though. I've spent so much time considering the book, but known so few with whom I could discuss it in much detail. You've had some time to run through it by now, so what do you think? Worth all the fuss?
I could either say I find it fascinating. You have come across more than your fair share of books, but none quite like this. You find it tedious. It's an archaic volume dense with lore you are not concerned with at this point. Only skimmed it. You would rather reserve judgment until you have had more reading time, or cannot say. The Book of Rites is meant to be experienced and cannot be described. I skimmed it. Like, there's still probably a lot of pages that we haven't seen. You admit to Wolfred, you have not really read much of the book just yet.
Indeed, all this time, and you have come this far on faith alone. Well, you are missing out as far as I'm concerned. It is a volume worth your while. I know there can be many distractions during travel, of course.
He puts away his copy of the book with care.
It's amazing that these volumes have survived for all this time, I think. Whatever they are made of has withstood the ravaging effects of time quite well. And the ideas there contained, they remain rather provocative as well. To think that the Commonwealth disavows of the existence of this book, despite official recognition of the 8 scribes. Although the reason why are in there, written plain. How fascinating that its secrets have been kept for all this time. Anyway, you'll have to excuse me for my extracurricular interests in its teachings. I used to teach a version of its history. To have access to the real thing has brought me some small pleasure. Let us be certain to preserve these volumes for whomever shall be next to use them.
He turns his attention to other matters and bids you a good afternoon.